Troubleshoot. Recorded live.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable podcast. This is podcast number 571. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me I have my alternate co-host, Corey Romero. Today is Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. Corey, how you doing today?
Hey, Eric, doing great. Utah weather is fantastic. We've got the usual thunderstorms rolling in and then sunny days, so things are well.
Fantastic. It is nice here in the Bay Area as well. The color of the Bay. Let's get to the color of the Bay. It is a beautiful turquoise green today. It is sunny and nice in the Bay Area. It's perfect weather, 72 degrees, balmy and nice. And the air is cleared out from the fires. And so we're actually enjoying a nice late summer day today in the Bay Area. On the show today, we're going to be talking about hands-on labs. I'm excited. Leanne Jones is back. She comes, visits us once a year and tells us all the great stuff they're doing for hands-on lab for VMworld 2021. So we've got Leanne back, as well as several other people. CLIV Wenman, Senior Content Architect for Hands-on Lab. Leanne's a Senior Content Architect. And we even have the Senior Manager for Hands-on Lab, Joey Deakins, on the show as well. So we're going to get to hear what's new with Hands-on Labs for VMworld 2021. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about the news. In the news today, Spring One is happening. If you're listening in real time or if you're listening on today's show, you can go participate in Spring One. Go to spring1.io. It's happening today and tomorrow. Or they're recording sessions. You can always go listen to the pre-recorded sessions. So if you want to hear what the DevOps and developer people are doing over on Spring One and Kubernetes, go check that out. That's happening today and tomorrow, and I'm sure they'll have all the sessions recorded. We're getting obviously ready for VMworld October 5th and 7th. Schedule Builder opens up next week, September 8th, Tuesday. So you want to go check that out and listen today about what's happening with Hands-on Labs, because I believe there will be some probably hands-on labs that have workshops and things that might be in scarce supply. So you'll want to be ready for the opening next week, September 8th. Go register, get ready. So if you're listening to the show and you haven't registered yet, now is the time to go get registered and get ready to participate in Schedule Builder when that opens up next Tuesday. Corey, any news with VExperts? I know that people have been sending in requests to see if they can overrule themselves on getting into the program. How's it going? Any news there?
Things are going great. Yes, I only have one announcement for VExperts today. I announced yesterday. The top sessions picked by VExperts for VMworld. So the 57 VExperts wrote 57 separate articles on their favorite sessions. And if you want to go read those, you can also vote for your favorite VExpert article. And the top 10 VExperts who wrote those top 10 articles will receive gifts from VMware. So if you go to blogs.vmware.com/VExpert, you can go read the blog post I released, as well as the 57 blog posts, if you wish, by the VExperts. So that's all I have for today for VExpert.
I got one follow-up question. I heard that the party invites did go out this week, so I assume that now all the VExperts can go participate, and we have $13,000 or $20,000 worth of gifts that are going to happen through.
Yes.
Yeah. So if people, I think the invites went out, right? People can go register for that.
Yep. Invites went out, so the invites are going out for both the U.S. and Europe. Not all of the details yet have gone out, so I've got to update those two invites. I am going through and figuring out which categories we're going to use for which awards. So we are going to have VExpert awards this year in both parties. So I'm figuring out the details of those. Once I get that figured out, we'll start voting, and I'll update those invites with that information.
And I think those gifts for all the VExperts are like gold-plated Ferraris, right? Is that, or is it Lamborghini?
Yeah, yes. Coming from the Eric Nielsen budget.
Yeah. They got just tons of money to give out, but lots of stuff, and so it should be a lot of fun. We're excited about that, and And so VMworld this year is going to be really good. We talked about putting together a letter for your boss to be able to take the 2 days off, right? So it's important that not only do you come to VMworld, but you actually take the time off so you can really enjoy some of the custom experiences that we're going to have this year, right? So I know that Michael J. Fox is going to be interviewed. I think they're getting ready to announce another big celebrity that will also be part of VMworld this year. So I think these are going to be kind of 2 days of really fun that you'll probably want to actually ask for the time off for your boss to participate in not only all the sessions, which are now 750 sessions, I think, that are available. About, maybe 20% of them are live, right? So you'll want to be, have those 2 days off to come in live. And then, of course, hands-on labs that you can participate in. And you're going to want that time off to be able to experience what I think is going to be a really fun event this year. Version 2.0 of online VMworld should be a lot better than even the version 1.0 last year. So looking forward to that. Okay, on with the guests. We're here with the Hands-on Labs folks. So we'll do the standard. Let's introduce them. I guess we'll start and do tell us, one or two elevator pitch. How long have VMware, and what have you done in your career to get here? I guess we'll start. We'll start with Joey. Joey, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what your career arc has looked like and what do you do here?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Yeah, so my name's Joey Dickhans. I've joined VMware back in 2010. I was a performance technical marketing architect, being basically an evangelist for the great performance that you get when you migrate your applications from bare metal over to vSphere virtualization. One of the first jobs first task I had was to build the virtualization lab and the performance lab in particular for the hands-on labs for VMworld. And my performance lab was #1 3 years in a row. Yay. Right. And after that, I kind of got hooked in the hands-on labs. And when an opportunity came for me to join the team, I did. And now I co-lead the program. I focus on the infrastructure side and get to work with CLIV, Leanne, and a bunch of great folks on the hands-on labs program.
I always like it when people come in from customers or they have some kind of unique experience that then, you were really good at it. You had the best lab. And then we were joking that then you get promoted and they do a lobotomy, take out half your brain, and you get dumber and dumber as you go up in your career until one day, you're just an idiot, right?
I'm hopefully a few years away from that stage, but no. Right. I got to use it because I was doing the performance portion of vSphere, and hands-on labs is very much performance based, right? And I manage the infrastructure side of the house. So
do you feel like you've lost an edge now that you don't get to have the #1 lab because now you're just managing the program? Do you regret making this choice?
I don't know if I regret making the choice, but I am sad not being that captain that built the content and seeing it be up at the top of the list.
You can't go back once you step up there. You just never can get back to that really exciting, fun time. But
I will say that CLIV and Lamb probably know the history though. But I was #1 for 3 years in a row, and then nobody could beat NSX for many years, right? Like they were at the top of the board. So I'm glad I kind of retired at the right time.
Yeah, go out a winner. Go out a winner on that performance lab. Leanne, why don't you go next?
Oh, yeah. So I actually kind of similar, I guess, to Joey, except for the fact that I haven't had my lobotomy yet. So I've actually been at, not yet. So I've been at VMware since 2012, and I actually came on board as an SE, so customer facing and working with all that. But then I was a volunteer, so wasn't one of the captains that was actually creating the labs, but just kind of helping support things at the conferences, and then just kind of the staffing and that aspect of it. So I was a volunteer for, I want to say, probably about 6 years, and then finally came over full time. And so similar kind of thing. But what's fun is, as a content architect, the teams that I work with are NSBU and MapBU. So the last couple of years, my lab, one of my captain's labs has been the leader. And I think some of the Tanzu stuff might actually take that over this year. So yeah, my team is fighting amongst themselves to take that leader spot.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you back on the show. I know that a year ago you guys came back and told us all about what you were doing online and talked a little bit about Odyssey and that stuff. And if anybody wants to go back and listen, it's podcast number 524. Leanne was talking about what we did last year. You can compare notes. So there you go. So great to have you back on the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, and then Clive, why don't you go next?
Yeah, so my name is CLIV. I'm the content architect with the Hands-on Labs. I've been with VMware since 2008. I'm based in the UK. I joined, like Leanne, I joined as an SE. I've pretty much done every basic customer-facing role for an SE over my career. And then I was a product specialist for Cloud Foundation. And throughout all of that career, I've been involved with Hands-on Labs, probably for about 8 or 9 years. I was volunteer staff, so I did the proctoring, and then I did captain, and I did principal. And then eventually, when the opportunity came up, I joined the team. So I mainly look after still the Cloud Foundation Labs and most of the vSAN stuff. But we get close to the top of that leaderboard, so I'm not too disappointed.
I got to say, if you are listening to the podcast and you ever want to go check things out, you can go to VBarbecue, youtube.com/VBarbecue, and check out the live stream. We do record everybody. And I got to say, you got to look at Clive's background, because it looks like he has a guitar hanging in the back of his Zoom setup. And so I got to ask, do you play, and what else you got hanging out there? Is that just any other musical instrument?
No, I do play. There's another 2 guitars just over to this way. I have a Flying V and a Stratocaster. And in a previous life, I used to be a professional musician and recording engineer. So
there you go.
That's all about my past. So now, like, my room is 50-50. It's 50% recording studio, 50% work office.
A lot of famous musicians got their start at VMware. So just saying, it's not too late. You could make it.
I'm holding out. Yeah, absolutely. It's never too late.
Let's get to the what's happening with labs this year at VMworld. So maybe let's bounce back and just cover what is actually new with the labs. I know this is our second year. So Joey, why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, what do you think is new this year, and what do you guys got going on?
Well, I'll let Leanne talk about the content that's new, but I'm more on the infrastructure, cloud side of the house. So I'm going to talk about that portion. This year, we've got sponsors that are providing us cloud capacity. So I'd like to thank IBM, Azure, Google. They're sponsoring some of our cloud capacity for VMworld. So we've got 3 public cloud sponsors. We've got about 8 clouds in total now. So that's VMware private clouds, other public clouds that we're purchasing capacity in, and then our 3 sponsors that are giving us cloud capacity. So we have a lot of infrastructure powering VMworld this year around. So that's a big new one for us. Leanne, I don't know if you want to talk about the content.
Yeah, well, before we get off the cloud, because this is a big push for we listened to Raghu the other day doing all hands, and he's talking about hybrid cloud management, using multi-cloud, not hybrid cloud, but multi-cloud, right? And so you're saying for HOL this year, you are actually running things in a multi-cloud environment where you're actually using cloud resources from IBM, Azure, and others, right? Do you got an AWS as well?
AWS, Google, exactly. Yeah. So we're leveraging, and then our own private clouds that we've been stood up by VMware internal. IT has stood up some clouds for us as well. So again, VMworld is such a large event. Going online is even making it larger for us, right? When we were at a physical event, there was a certain size of the room. That's as many people as we could support, right?
Right.
For a virtual event, the room is pretty much unlimited in size, right? We do schedule, guided workshops. We have some capacity constraints there on how large we'll let those guided workshops become, but
right.
It's a much larger show these days.
Now, in the dashboard land, when I used to go to HOL environment, it was always fun just to go look at the dashboard and see what was actually running and where. Are you guys doing a dashboard again? Do you have like an online dashboard? And if not, how would I know things were running in the cloud? And do you get the hyperscalers to actually compete and try to flex their muscle on how well they do?
Internally, they do. We don't want to show competitions or favoritism to anybody. But yes, definitely internally in the internal calls, they're definitely having a lot of friendly competition. But they're all competing really well. They're all performing extremely well for us and delivering as necessary so that the show goes well with the customers. We don't have a command center dashboard this year. It doesn't read well in the virtual environment, right? It works really well in the physical world when it's really cool graphics and we have someone standing in front of it to explain it. But we tried it last year and it just didn't work quite as well. So we'll do some recordings.
So before we move off so you tried things last year. There are things that worked and didn't work. Are there any other big standouts that you go, yeah, we tried that last year. We're not gonna do that again? Like, I know, did Odyssey survive, or some of the gamification stuff? I'm just curious, what else fell by the wayside versus what's new?
I think that was the only thing that really fell by the wayside. However, we did make some tweaks to how we did things, and Odyssey, the competition, is one of the tweaks that we made.
Okay. Cool. Other
Yes,
question on the infrastructure before we drift off is, do you guys run the same lab on different clouds, or do you pin a particular lab type to a particular cloud vendor?
Good question. We try to run the same lab across all the clouds. It just gives us a lot more flexibility in case we do have a particular issue with any one cloud. That content is replicated everywhere. We do attempt that. Some cases, for whatever reason, it just doesn't quite work out that way. But that is our goal, is to have the content in every single one of the clouds.
Do you guys play off budget now? Do you go to the cloud vendors and go, hey, this one's cheaper? You know, we were noticing that your stuff is getting too expensive.
Since they're giving it to us for free, we're not playing that card yet. But yeah, no, right now we haven't had to do those negotiations, because thankfully, like IBM, Azure, Google have all been very, very willing to give us some capacity, and we appreciate that from them.
How big is the team that supports? And I know we'll get off this, but I'm just hitting all the management questions early on here. Like, how big is the team that you have to manage to drive the whole environment?
Well, so the HOL core team is only something like 20 something people. We're a relatively small core team, but then we have our team from the cloud operations, our platform team. There's a couple hundred people in the infrastructure side, if you add up everybody. But there is a critical number that are like the star super signers out there. Lubo is one of our main engineers, Brandon, Joshne, Doug. But we've got lots of these names that we can throw out there. We got to make a list to give all the names.
In previous years, we always looked at they used to do the metrics at the end of the X number of VMs served up, X number of labs served up, etc. Did you guys track that? And can you share any of the growth numbers? Was it higher in a online environment, and to what order of magnitude? Was it 20% higher? Was it lower? What's the real numbers here when we start talking about online virtual event versus physical?
It ended up being about the same. I think we had just a little bit of an uptick. I think this year we're going to try for even larger. Again, last year was our first year. It was kind of sprung on us. It was a very crazy year because we didn't know whether we were going to be doing physical or we were going to do virtual, and so we kind of had to.
That's a tough number to match, because I know at VMworld, that's why people go to VMworld, right? Is to go and sit and take a lab and have instructors come up and help them, and it's like a thing, right? And I think that I would think that you would have had lower numbers, just because doing something online, I can do that anytime, right? There's lots of places I could go to HOLs anytime I want, and the reason to go to VMworld is to get that physical presence to be able to ask a question.
True, right, and that's why we have the guided workshops, which are the big draw for us. Is those guided workshops? But it's also challenging to do a guided workshop in a virtual environment, right? It's a little bit easier to deliver a workshop when you can actually walk around to the customers and have that interaction with them versus a virtual. So we've been trying to keep them small, but the numbers are about the same, and we do expect a little bit of a growth here. I do see a question about how much memory and CPU. Right now, we've got about 240 plus terabytes worth of memory. That's 300 something hosts worth of capacity, including all of our cloud providers. So
nice.
It's a sizable amount.
Good. All right. So let's move on to kind of the labs and what's actually happening lab content wise. I guess we'll do the drive by and swing by Leanne and ask you. But Clive and Ann, you guys can tag team. What's new with the labs themselves? What are you excited about this year?
Yeah, and that's actually kind of building off of some of the things you were talking about with kind of what's changed from last year. The guided workshops were hugely popular. We had a few of them that the sessions filled up. All the seats were taken within, I think, about 30 minutes of Schedule Builder going live. So we're trying to watch for that and try to maybe open up new sessions, things like that. But one thing that we did learn from last year is folks really did want more time. So it's not as ideal as being on site, where again, the instructor, the captain is walking around the room and able to talk with you. But last year we only had him at an hour session because we were trying to get a lot of sessions out there, and that just really wasn't enough time. So we kind of revamped the schedule this year. And so next week, when you see Schedule Builder go live, we'll have close to the same number of actual live sessions as last year, but they are actually hour-and-a-half long sessions. So you'll have more time with the captains, with the folks who actually created the labs, to hear more about the individual product solution that's being covered, as well as more time in the lab. So that's one thing that we're super excited about for this year. So a little more FaceTime with that, and of course all new content. So both Clive and I can kind of talk through. There's just basically every lab is being refreshed. There are a few that are out right now, but most of them are going to release for VMworld. So your first chance to actually see any of that is going to be at the guided workshops, which just like last year for the Tech Plus attendees. But then we're also going to do our simulations like we did last year. And then another thing that's new is we're doing some on-demand recording. So if you're not able to get into a guided workshop because the sessions are limited, to make sure you actually have some really good quality time, quality interaction, you can at least get a recording of the expert on that lab giving you background and actually walking through the lab. So a little bit, try to give you more than just doing it yourself.
That's really nice, right? So there's two things that I'll just loop back on and emphasize. One is, it is amazing how much an extra half an hour will make the lab more relevant. It just takes that extra 5 or 10 minutes worth of extra time to let people on a Zoom experience ask questions and get through what their issues are. And it is that extra half an hour. And it's surprising you don't need like 2 hours. You would think just that extra 15 or 20 minutes to slow down the pace and let people engage a little bit. And it also gives people the permission to engage, right? Because sometimes in Zoom environments, you don't feel like, oh, if I ask this, I'm going to slow everybody down, and they've got a cadence, and there is this hard to get that natural feel. So I love that idea. I think that'll be really good for everybody to engage with that.
Yeah, and we're actually not kicking people out at that 90 minutes. So that's what the session is, and that's when the lab will end. But our captains, all of our volunteers are planning on sticking around. So if they're still interested in a couple more questions as things go, we've got even more flexibility. So yeah, we're hoping that'll improve things and give people an even better experience.
Yeah, I really like that idea, and that'll help. The second point, I can't remember what my second point was that you
was it the simulations?
Maybe the recordings. I love the recordings. That you're recording now. So if I want to come later and you've recorded the lab session, I can go get and listen to what the instructor has to say about it, then go take the lab. That's actually better than being online. I mean, better being in person, because you can't get in. Those sessions are pretty booked by the time I go to VMworld. But the fact that you could then record them, let me go watch them, then let me go take the lab online,
Yeah, that's our hope. And those are actually going to be available post VMworld as well. So that's going to be something that we're offering, because outside of the conference, you don't even have the opportunity to try to get into a guided workshop. I mean, we try to do that. Our VMUG community does a lot of things. We try to do those kind of activities, but it's harder. So these recordings are going to be available at the HOL site going forward too.
Mm. Right. Yeah, and plus they're going to be available for all attendees as well. So it's not just the Tech Plus. Right. So the simulations and the recordings are available for everyone.
Yeah, that to me, that's the big step, right? It's like, oh, because if I didn't get in Session Builder in the first hour, then I'm coming into this lab environment, and it's pretty much the same as going online doing the lab environment tomorrow or any day of the year. But with this recorded session, and I didn't really catch what the simulations were, but the recorded sessions I like. What's the simulations again?
So the simulations are interactive simulations. So we're going to make available a couple of modules, 1 or 2 modules from all of the workshops, available to all attendees. So if you couldn't get into a workshop, or you want to experience the lab, then you can there's something for you to participate in and take some of the content through a simulation. It's just so we don't use the capacity to do that. We can dedicate that to the workshops. But.
Got it. So that sounds good. Last year it was all about vSphere 7, right? Because 7 was fairly new. I think we launched it in May, and so by the time VMworld came around, it was 7. Again, NSX is a beast. Why don't we? It always seems to be a beast. It's shocking how much traffic you get on NSX all over the place. Must be because everybody needs to learn it and it's complicated, and so there's a need to consume more. What excites you about the labs this year? What are your favorite ones? What have you guys been working on? I know you obviously you say you're renewing all the labs, right? How many labs are there? Why don't you give me some? How many labs are there? What are the exciting ones? What are the tried and true ones, etc.?
Well, for the conference itself, we're going to have 27 individual labs that we're offering as guided workshops. So some of those are going to be, those are going to be in both the Americas and EMEA time zones, and some of those will have multiple times, that kind of thing. So that specifically for the guided workshops, so we are at 27. And again, all of those brand new, the vast majority of them will be releasing for VMworld. But beyond that, we have a lot, actually, I have to admit, I don't even know what our final tally is. I think we're at 80.
Yeah,
Clive, do you remember?
I think we're about the 85 mark this year for full content release from our development cycle, which has been running since April. Some we'll just have ready for VMworld.
So Raghu has 3 main pillars that he's always talking about. One is, obviously cloud. Then he talks about multi-cloud, right? Then he did a phrase in All Hands the other day, and I think I'm allowed to use this phrase, but it's like no app left behind, right? So I know that I can go get a vSAN lab, I get an NSX lab. What's happening with the app space labs these days? What do we got?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. So we're going to have 4 different guided workshops, but we actually will have 7 different labs that are specifically from our mobile application platform business unit. So it's covering all aspects of the Tanzu suite, from mission control all the way through for developers or for operators. So we're going to have dedicated sessions at VMworld that will specifically talk about those different topics. But just from Matt BU, we've got 7 different labs. And then I know, Clive, you've got a couple that are more the solutions based that cover that as well as VCF.
Yeah, I mean, those are the labs that really excite me. It's where you're not, traditionally we've always done a lab that's focused around a product and focused around the features that are in it. I think we're just on the crest now starting to see lab content that really is solutions based. So it's built on maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 products. A lot of the Tanzu labs but have that by default because they're built on top of vSphere, and then they bring in NSX, and then they bring in everything else on top. So we're starting to see more fully functional SDDCs. So the Cloud Foundation Lab is a really good example of probably where we're heading in the future, where we're not just deploying vSphere and a few other components, we're actually deploying a full SDDC. And the content is starting to switch to the idea of what can I do with this, rather than, hey, let me walk you through this product and show me all the features. The lab content is starting to actually address business problems. And I think we're starting to see that for VMworld. Like the Tanzu labs are really, I think as we go into next year, we're going to see a lot more. And post VMworld as well, like genuine solutions-based labs. So there's things changing, and it's really exciting to see the direction of content changing now. That ties into everything that Raghu was talking about, multi-cloud, hybrid labs, things like that, which we've introduced over the years, but we're starting to bring all these things together into one single lab that is capable of doing it. And the Cloud Foundation and Tanzu ones, as I say, I think are probably the more exciting examples of where we see that happening.
Now, I also have to do a shout out to Bob Plankers. He's a popular guy that we bring on the podcast every once in a while. He's doing a session on vSphere security. Guys have anything in the land of security? And I know that we brought Carbon Black in, and we got the Carbon Black products. So, security makes me cringe. It's like chalkboards for me. I just get nervous, and I'm afraid I'm going to mess things up. So where are we in that space?
Yeah, actually, we're going to have a lot of content on that. So yes, I'm doing a lot around Carbon Black again. But to your comments about NSX, NSX has 2 really key aspects of it. It's the networking part that people are still, was somewhat new to VMware when we purchased Nicira years ago, and so a lot of people have been coming up on that. But now there is a ton of security-specific features in NSX, so we'll be covering content specific for that. For the SD-WAN aspect, there's going to be some SASE focused content is what we're planning as well. So you will actually see a lot around security kind of spread throughout everything, but also a couple of sessions and multiple labs that are very much dedicated to security.
Okay, Graham asks on chat, any app defense labs this year?
So not app defense specifically, that functionality is being built in, is the way the business unit has explained it to me. Built in, it's going to become part of Carbon Black. So for that type of functionality, then yes, we'll have a couple of Carbon Black labs. Most of those are simulations right now as we work out people being able to log into the environment and how we kind of do that user management and everything. But yes, that functionality is under kind of new names under Carbon Black.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice. So we get, I think in community, we get about 5,000 new members every week. 5,000 new community members join the community platform, come into forums and VMTN and ask questions. So I can't not skip the entry level stuff, right? So vSphere still, everything runs on vSphere last time I checked, right? So I assume there's still some quality entry level vSphere. Hopefully there's some senior vSphere and super senior vSphere, or geez, Joey, do they still even do performance labs? Because everybody talks about apps and all this. I'm like, come on, can we get back to what we actually use this stuff for? Like vSphere, performance, entry level.
I think there still is a vSphere performance lab.
They're all there.
They're
all there. Yeah, the performance labs are alive and kicking.
Still not in the #1 slot though. That's so sad.
I'm just
well, I don't know. The vSphere 101 is still one of our most popular labs still to this day. Yeah.
Right. All right. So good. So I know that people want to go talk about no apps left behind, and and NSX, configuring complex networks and security, app defense, all of the the hairpinning stuff and networking. That those are all advanced topics. That good. But every once in a while, I want to get back to by the way, how's vSphere performance doing? And how people still use a lot of vSphere, right? I want to put a I love vSphere button on my lapel here. Just say how good it is. So it's good that we still do all that. And sometimes we forget to talk about it just because all the new stuff is so, interesting for us because we've already been doing that. Anything that anybody wants to call out on what's new in vSphere that would be exciting besides Kubernetes?
I think probably the biggest thing is the key provider. Like from a security aspect, so us introducing native key provider is a huge thing. And again, take the lab, you'll see for yourself how intuitive and how simple that is to set up. We see examples of that in both the traditional performance lab. It's included in there as a security section in that, but also with vSAN as well. It can be used, and very, very quickly, enabling data at rest encryption and data in transit encryption as well, literally in minutes. But that's a huge jump, I think, from a security aspect that we've seen. And it's a little bit tricky to actually appreciate everything that vSphere does in a vSphere lab. I think the other big thing is obviously vSphere with Tanzu as well. Us re-engineering that platform to deliver container-based workloads and manage Kubernetes it's a huge leap. So I think those are the leap out things for me in terms of the vSphere platform.
We've heard about that. So, and that's complicated, and everybody says it's way easier now. And a lot of people haven't spent time learning about it. So that's a good shout out, right? To go do that. Yeah. I think there's some license management as well. Maybe that has changed a little bit too, or at least gotten a little nicer in vSphere 7.x new version. So that might be interesting. Just some of those core features that everybody has to do in their day job. It's nice to know. Joey, I got to go back to you and say, so the infrastructure, ping back to infrastructure for just a second. To always talk about microservices. I think I asked this last year and everybody looked at me and went, not yet. Do you guys get into running any of the labs on Kubernetes yet and build some of the infrastructure around Kubernetes, or are you not there quite yet? I know
not there quite yet. I mean, we're slowly making inroads in that direction, But yeah, our main platforms are still kind of traditional applications versus the Kubernetes-based applications.
Well, and
We love vSphere.
it's all-
We're allowed to love vSphere too. I'm just saying.
We run vSphere and
right. It's all vSphere based. I think that was the answer last year too. Is it's all vSphere based. So you're spinning up VMs and delivering, embedded ESXs that come up and then allow you to engage with the lab. So it makes sense. But again, there's still some cloud management stuff that you could get into in that space, right? So multi-cloud environments where you're actually trying to manage workloads across multi-cloud. Do you guys get into actually load balancing across multi-cloud at all?
Yeah, so I mean, our whole platform is front-ended by the VMware Learning Platform, which is a commercial product that VMware sells to deliver education, offerings like this. And so that platform allows us to do the load balancing. So that's where we do most of the load balancing is through there. It automates kind of where we provision our resources and where those resources get delivered from.
Yeah,
so that's how we kind of consume those.
vSphere on Azure, vSphere on AWS, and so therefore this all just connects the ESXi hosts and manages that through that infrastructure. So I would assume that's
through vCloud Director. Yeah. So right now we have vCloud Director as kind of the orchestrator, and so we got VMware Learning Platform talking to vCloud Director, talking to the ESXi hosts and vCenters and those public cloud providers. We're also there's a vCloud as a service offering that's available out there. We're also trying to leverage that this year for VMworld. So customers can, consume vCloud Director as a service from VMware these days. So bring your own hosts, and you can get a cloud director as a service from VMware.
All right. If you've listened this far, now we can get to some kind of fun stuff. So Leanne or Clive, I don't know who wants to deal with gamification, rewards, fun, competition. What are we doing there? I know that was popular the last few years at VMworld. So what are we doing this year?
Yeah, so it was very popular last year. And so this is one of the things that we learned as well as, so last year you actually had to qualify. So we had everybody try to go in ahead of time and, kind of scaled it down. And we realized that limited people a little bit too much. So this year it's just going to be open. We've got 5 different labs that are going to be out there. You'll hear more about this coming up. Just over the next couple of weeks as we get all of our details out. But yeah, it's basically going to be open to anybody who's Tech Plus, and you'll be able to come in at any point in time and be able to take the Odyssey challenges. And same thing as last year, we'll be giving away some good prizes. I apologize, I don't have, last year I think we actually tried to plug what those prizes were, and I don't have that with me today, but you'll hear more about that coming up. But we're going to do the same kind of thing again. This time it's going to be a global leaderboard. So instead of trying to do one per region, that kind of thing, so you'll actually get to compete against folks all around the world, and we'll have prizes for the top couple of folks, as well as just raffles for participating.
Yeah, so let me just encapsulate this in a summary, which is it's open to everybody this time. You don't have to pre-qualify for a team or pre-qualify to be in. I can engage. Anybody can engage. I could come in and engage. Don't have to be a level to engage and compete in Odyssey. And then obviously there will be a global leaderboard this year for everybody. And this is going on throughout the whole 2-day process. Is there times that it's running, or is it just kind of be open and then it just runs and then you reward people as it goes? Is that the summary? And then the last question for you on this is, am I allowed to take the labs over and over and over to try to get my score higher? How does that play out? One-time thing, that's it. I go in, I do the lab, and that's what I get.
Yes. We don't let you try to improve your score, because that's just not fair. So it's, how, who can do it, who can get the most information, the most right across, and this is going to cover 5 different products. So it's not like you can just come in and just win on NSX or something. It's going to be across the, multiple disciplines, but it's going to be open the full 2 days. So if you're Tech Plus attendee, then please come in and try them out. And so the leaderboard is going to be a consolidated leaderboard. So you can go in and try as many of the Odyssey challenges as you'd like. And whoever gets the most points, so whoever completes the right amount of tasks in the least amount of time, will be the highest up on the leaderboard. And those are going to be the folks that we're really going to call out and congratulate and shower with prizes. And this is, by the way, sponsored by Intel again this year. So my apologies, I should have led with that. So thank you to Intel for sponsoring Odyssey again this year.
Nice. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. I love Intel, love Pat being over there. So that's cool that we can do that. Let's see. So that, yeah. So you got to be Tech Plus. That's what I want to call out. So Tech Plus, the dreaded Tech Plus, which is what, $299. So if you want to qualify for the prizes, go ask your boss for $299. You need the 2 days off, and you have to buy the $299 pass. Unless, of course, you're doing some really cool blogs and you win a free Tech Plus pass from Corey Romero. Corey Romero has I think 10 or 15 Tech Plus passes he's giving away. And then there's a lot of other things for Tech Plus. So I should do a shout out to Allison Crooker and these guys for putting the Tech Plus package together for $300. And then it allows us to have a bigger budget to give away things and do things. And yeah, we're happy about being able to do that. So the Tech Plus thing gets in. Okay. So my son works at,
And Eric,
yeah, go ahead.
We do also have, the HOL has a raffle to give away some Tech Plus passes in case that $300 $299 barrier. So we're giving away 10 Tech Plus passes to lucky winners of the Hands-On Labs raffle. There's 5 highlighted labs available on our raffle page there, scrolling across the bottom. So yeah, go out to the raffle page, go out to our landing page, take one of those 5 labs or all 5. You get up to 5 entries if you take all 5. And lucky 10 winners will win Tech Pass.
A Tech Plus pass and come engage. Now, just to make the record straight, obviously, if you want to go take Hands-On Labs and don't want to compete in the Odyssey Challenge, you don't have to buy the $299 package or whatever it is. So just don't get confused. HOLs are all there. Go Schedule Builder, go register. That's all free, and you can get your labs and your instructor-read labs. None of that is Tech Plus. We're only talking about the Odyssey competition. If you want to become, I like the idea that we charge people a little bit of money to come play, right? So if you're not serious, if you're just going to go gamify the system, yeah, that's not going to work for you. You got to be a serious competitor. I'm wondering how you were going to prohibit me from becoming Nelson Eric, Melson, Kelson, Nelson, whatever, right? You know, my son works at Facebook, and they develop AI algorithms to go try to figure out who's gamifying the account creation system to be able to go. But with the Tech Plus, you actually have to have your account Tech Plus enabled, which would stop the riffraff from being able to do that, because you would have to go buy a $300 pass for every new account that you went and set up, right? So I think that solves that problem.
Yeah.
Because
also have the best chance. The best chance of completing the Odyssey game is to go to the workshop. Keep in mind, you need to learn first and then test.
Right. So I know that some people were a little concerned a couple of years ago that, people could come in and somehow do this lab a couple times and then go, get their score higher, or, learn how to gamify the gamification. That's always happening, right? So we got that.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good.
Fun.
So in the last 10 minutes of our time together here, other things you'd like to communicate to people that are coming to VMworld? Any thoughts or any other topics you want to cover?
Personally, I think we've hit the. Yeah, go ahead, Ted. Yeah.
No, I just say come and experience the workshops. One thing to really point out is just how much work has gone into this, and something we probably haven't really highlighted here, that the Hands-On Labs are developed by the volunteer staff at VMware. So these are people who work in the field. They do this for the passion for what they're involved in the industry, and we've been developing since April. So these are probably some of the best experts you get in the field, and some of the most passionate people at VMware. And really, that's the value of going to the workshops, is to get access to it. Like, it's really great that we add the 30 minutes extra to every single workshop. That's a great chance to have some one-on-one time with some of the best people in VMware. So yeah, come for the workshops, come for the Odyssey, come do all the Hands-On Lab stuff, but also come, to get that access to great people, have a little one-on-one time. I think that's a great benefit as well of just having that. When we were at VMware, we had a nice area called the Connect area, and it was great just to be able to walk in, and it took a little while for you to realize, hang on a minute, these people aren't just show staff, these are like the best people in VMware. So that's the other thing I would say. Yeah, the content's great, but there's access to these great people as well to come and spend time with them, both in a workshop and just have that chat at the end for the 30 minutes.
That does get remind me to ask: are you guys going to be doing any kind of Slack chat environments where if I'm in a lab, I can chat with other people that are trying to get through labs and which ones they're taking and so forth? I don't know. I know that we're going to have Slack for the community people. VMug's going to have a Slack channel. I wonder if you guys were engaged with that or any other place that you can actually do online conversation.
Well, yeah, for the workshops especially, we'll actually have a couple. So in the Zoom session, we'll have a Q&A as well as chat, as well as people able to be on just on audio. So we're working that out to be able to try to let people actually voice questions as well. But we actually have a chat that's built into the Hands-On Labs. So you will as well be able to just go in there and have a separate chat. Like, so if you're having trouble getting logged in or you're not even into the session yet, we will have multiple ways for you to be able to communicate. So for the Slack aspect of it, we're still kind of finalizing exactly how we're going to handle that. But if you're in one of the guided workshops and really engage with that, we're going to have just a staff of people that are there, and you'll be able to see other people's Q&A, other people's questions and chats in those live Zoom sessions. So that'll probably be the main one. But yeah.
Okay. Good. That's always fun. Feel a little bit connected and have birds of a feather, getting to experience other people's perspective and failures or successes. So good. Well, I know we're coming up at the top of the hour, and if you happen to go to our community chat or our community online space where we're streaming, you'll see that we talk vBarbecue, right? So we have the vExperts talk barbecue, and since we're coming the last 5 minutes of the show and you made it to the end, thanks for listening. Joey, what's your favorite barbecue? Do you cook barbecue? And if not, where do you go get the best barbecue?
I'm a simple person. What's available here is Armadillo Willie's. The brisket is the best for me.
Very nice. So you must be are you in the Bay Area?
In the Bay Area, yeah.
There you go. Leanne.
So down here in Southern California, we actually have a place at Gus's that I like a lot. But in general, I love doing a good tri-tip on the grill as well. So still getting into smoking and that kind of deal. So I'm hoping to maybe next year I'll have a better answer and I'll actually be more into smoking. But yeah, no, my go-to tends to be tri-tip.
I like tri-tip, but I just like doing a rub, right? So
right. Exactly.
Good rub on a tri-tip is good. Santa Maria down in Southern California, they do some really good rubs, and best tri-tip ever, right?
That's the one I have. That's the exact one that I use.
Very good. Clive, we'll loop to you. What do you think of barbecue?
Well, so I'm in the UK, so a little bit more parochial than that, but I'm a huge brisket fan. Well, like in the UK, we're happy with a hot dog that's probably overcooked and probably not done in the middle. But if I'm in the US, smoked and brisket. If not, I'll always settle for a rub.
It's funny. We have a lot of people from the UK on this year on the podcast, right? Like community members writing blogs and doing that. And a lot of UK guys, people do a lot of barbecue, right? Like they're like, it's raining, but I get out and I do some barbecue and it crosses the gamut. So
we'll do it even if it's raining.
Right. Barbecue with an umbrella. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Last thing, where do people learn more? Twitter? Like we do shout outs to what account should you follow for Hands-On Labs or for you guys. So we'll ask you that. And the URL is, I think, hol.vmware.com, right? So, but what are Twitter handles? Are you guys on Twitters? Let's do a shout out to your Twitter handles if you're on Twitter. And then what Twitter handles should you follow? Joey.
We are on Twitter.
He's looking at his phone.
I'm looking for our Twitter handler.
I got Twitter. Well, we know that answer.
I would say our blog articles are probably the best, and all of it can be accessed through hol.vmware.com. So I think that would be the first place. Leanne, Clive, save me here.
Yeah, no, I have to admit that I'm actually not on Twitter. So yeah, that's so sorry to disappoint, but yeah, I would say definitely using the HOL
Joey,
one.
You're certainly in management space.
Leanne, defer it immediately.
There, and possibly Clive can bail you out. Clive, are you on Twitter? Nope. And he's not even.
I am not.
So we really appreciate our 300 followers.
There you go. All right. Well, guys, thanks a lot for working so hard on a great environment. I know people are really excited. I know people go get their certification by just going to labs and using the labs and getting prompts on NSX and getting certified through just. I'm like, oh, did you set up NSX in your home? No. Oh, where'd you learn? Like, oh, I just did it on HOL. Right. So the community really does love what you guys build. All joking aside, it's a great resource. I know everybody really looks forward to the instructor-led labs, and learning is great for all of us IT practitioners. So thanks a lot for coming on the show and for working so hard building such a great environment. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having us.